What's up, everybody? Welcome to JL Vids. I'm Logan.
And I'm Jordan, and we're both very excited to dive into this Week 2 main slate for DraftKings.
All right, so if you're back here, thank you. That means you enjoyed the first video, I hope. We're going to try to condense this one down a little bit. That was Week 1. Everything was soft. Ended up being an hour long.
Yeah.
Here's what it is. We both had a pretty good week in DraftKings. Nothing insane. Didn't take down any huge tournaments.
Got a small win overall.
But we got a small win overall. So let's just jump right into it. So, of course, as always, Patty's going to be up here at the top.
And he's always going to be in play, and especially against Oakland. Just get you some exposure, like last week, just in case. Always get some Patty.
Absolutely. One of my, not necessarily a question mark, but Lamar Jackson, it was last week a fluke? I'm going to say probably not. Now, does he score 36 fantasy points again? I mean, he threw 17 for 324 yards, and he barely rushed.
I think it's a fluke in the sense of 85% completion percentage, 324 yards. He's not going to be a guy that's going to throw for over 300 yards a game and high completion percentages and all that. You know, I expect, obviously, the passing efficiency to come down in the coming weeks, but the rushing to go up. So it's hard to really tell with his overall fantasy production how it will turn out, but obviously he looks like he's in a great spot just this week and throughout the course of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can have a little bit of a Lamar exposure, of course. Deshaun against Jacksonville, I absolutely love.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about receivers when we get there as far as this game. I do like Deshaun here.
The next guy that stands out to me is Tom Brady at 6,400. Probably going to be pretty popular. New England is somehow better than what we think they are every single year. Yeah. Their defense is incredible, and their offense looked completely in sync last Sunday night against Pittsburgh. And now they get Miami, and I believe they're about an 18 or 19-point favorite. It's huge. 6,400 is a little bit for Brady. He's not typically a guy that's going to produce a lot of fantasy points. But you're hoping here for a lot of touchdowns. And
early, too, because in theory they should be playing ahead.
Yeah.
At the end, in theory, they got Burkhead, Michelle, James White.
They want to run the ball.
In theory, they're going to run it at the end. But Tom Brady's a guy that can get you 4 touchdowns in a quarter. I mean, right. Literally.
Against Miami, especially.
Against Miami.
So, obviously, just be careful. But his upside, I think, this week is really, really high. I'm going to have some in tournaments for sure. No doubt about it.
Yeah. Going on down, honestly, I'm going to be honest, the top and 2 or 3 guys here at the bottom is about the only people that we're interested in. This little range right here, I'm not Jared Goff.
Outside of Jared Goff and Drew Brees, because I believe I would have to double check, but I think the Rams and the Saints game's got to be the highest point total of the week. So that automatically puts both quarterbacks in the discussion. I would prefer Goff to Brees because I think the Saints want to run the ball more if they can. And Goff is a little bit cheaper than Brees.
Yeah, and as far as passing touchdowns with Drew Brees, I feel like Kamara is going to get a good share of that if he is throwing touchdowns. Mm-hmm. So I would rather just play Kamara than having Drew Brees. So I'm more interested in Jared Goff as well.
Absolutely.
Big Ben is mentionable. But if you play Big Ben, I feel like you got to put Juju with him.
Yeah, you got to pair him with Juju. And I think the main thing for him, he's just underpriced. Like, you always think of Big Ben as one of those guys that's at least in that mid 6K, low 6K range.
Yeah.
So you get a little bit of a discount on him against Seattle, who surprisingly got lit up by Andy Dalton without A.J. Green last week. So the matchup looks pretty good here for Big Ben. I like him, but I just don't love him.
Right. Again, I'm not playing a naked Big Ben, though. If I play him, I'm putting him with Juju because there's pretty much no one else to throw the ball to.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if Big Ben does well, Juju's doing well, and vice versa, I feel like.
Right.
Obviously, doesn't have to be that way, but Kyler Murray honestly impressed me. Week 1, late. But against Baltimore, I'm not too interested.
No, I'm not either.
Now, down here, there are 3 guys, and then that's about it for the quarterback position.
Yeah.
Josh Allen at 5,300.
Yeah, he's got to be probably my favorite quarterback this week. We've seen what Dak just did to the Giants last week. They're not just bad on offense, they're really bad on defense also. And Josh Allen didn't particularly play well last week against the Jets. Just like watching the game, he had 2 picks, a couple fumbles, but he still got 20 DraftKings points at 5,600. And still had 10 rushing attempts. I know it was for only 38 yards, but expect that similar rushing attempts each week. And the Giants is a way softer defense, and Dak just went crazy on the Giants. So I love Josh Allen at
and we're getting him for $300 less than last week too.
Yeah.
So, excuse me. I believe Josh Allen is super in play.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna have a lot of Josh Allen as well. Everybody else might too. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see.
I personally am really big on Matt Stafford this week.
Yeah, this is more of you. I'm not as high on him as you are, but
just because. Well, first of all, we talked about in the last video, which is what I had expected, which I was wrong. I expected Detroit to be super run heavy, come out just guns blazing with Carry On. They did not do that whatsoever. I mean, Carry On just did not have a good game. He threw the ball 45 times, 300, which isn't that uncommon for Stafford. 60%
in the past,
3 touchdowns. He even ran 3 times 22, but that's not really significant because that's probably just scrambling. He did fumble twice. He still had 31.6 fantasy points.
Crazy game.
2 fumbles. Now, listen, if he's slinging it 45 times, they're not going to come out and just be like, well, Matthew threw it 45 times last game. Let's cut it down to 25 and run with Carry On. I don't think they're going to do that.
Yeah, and I don't think they'll be able – like they might, in theory, want to be able to run the ball with Carry On, but against the Chargers with the likes of Bosa and those other guys they got, it's going to be hard for them, I think, to run the ball again here.
Yes.
So it could be a situation where Stafford's forced to throw more than he'd like. I wouldn't project 45 attempts again. Somewhere in the low 30s, I think, is definitely possible.
And another thing, in theory, again, if you notice, we go a lot off of game flow, what the game flow should be. In theory, Detroit here should be playing from behind. In theory, Carry On's not going to be running the ball all the time if they're behind 14, going into half or something. He's going to be forced to throw the ball a lot. I don't know about 45 times, but like he said, 30, 35, I think is definitely possible. And I don't care who the quarterback is. If they're throwing the ball 35 times, there's a really good chance that
they're going to produce fantasy points.
They're going to produce fantasy points. I don't care about the actual NFL game or how they look on paper or whatever. There's going to be fantasy points there if they're throwing the ball 35 times. If he throws 2 picks in that but throws 3 or 4 touchdowns, who cares?
Yeah.
It don't matter. So
then next up, it's kind of what we were talking about with Stafford this week, but I think much more likely in this scenario is with Derek Carr against Kansas City. You also get Derek Carr at home here against Kansas City. Should be playing well behind the Chiefs, and only had to throw it 26 times in Monday night, but they were ahead a lot of the game, and they ran with Josh Jacobs a lot. Obviously, they want to run the ball. I just don't think they're going to be able to this week against Kansas City. Going to be way behind. I think for 5,100, you're going to get a quarterback that's going to push 40 attempts this week. Probably efficiency is going to come down, of course. But with this price, man, if you can get him throwing the ball 40 times with his touchdown upside, you got to love it.
Another thing, too, that we had read, statistically, Derek Carr at home against Kansas City, when he's played them, he has been quarterback like 2, 3, and 4 in terms of fantasy. So I get it. Maybe he's, quarterback 4 for the slate. But at 5,100,
you love that.
You can squeeze in. I mean, you're coming down $2,500 off of Patty.
Yeah.
I mean, you can fit in a lot more value.
Yeah. And so quickly, I just want to talk about that concept really quick. All right, looks like Derek Carr is 5,100 and Patty Mahomes is what, 7,500 this week? So Derek Carr wouldn't shock me here if he had a 25-point fantasy game, right? If Mahomes goes out and he plays really well, he'll get about 35, right? So with that 2,000, almost 500 in salary, can you make up to 10 points? Most of the time, the answer is yes. So that's why we like to pay down at quarterback if we can most weeks instead of paying up for Patty.
Because their ceilings aren't as high. Like Patty's craziest game, like if he goes out there and just goes crazy, again, he's going to get 35.
35, maybe 40, something like that.
I mean, in 40, I don't know. I mean, look at all the crazy plays last week. Sammy Watkins and Marquise Brown and Mark Andrews, all these guys you didn't expect was going to be getting all these points. Deshaun Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
You could save that 2,500 and go there instead of relying on your quarterback to do that.
Right.
So we do pay down at quarterback a lot, but have Patty and Lamar exposure.
Please.
Like, do not mess up. Jordan messed up last week. Did not play Lamar anywhere.
Really limited my upside for the week for sure. But I played Cam Newton instead, which now, God, Cam looks terrible. So
I actually stacked Lamar with Mark Andrews, which I didn't think Mark Andrews was going to do that. I just kind of needed to fit it in. I was like, well, I'll just put him with this tight end. Wish I would have had that one everywhere. So that's pretty much it, I think, for quarterback.
Yeah.
Going on to running back, I think me and Jordan can both agree this is where we're going to be paying up the most.
Yeah, and the first guy that's going to be in our core, right, our big three, is going to be Alvin Kamara, 8,200. We've talked about the game a little bit already. Really high point total. Alvin Kamara, pass game usage, run game usage. You're looking at 25 touches here, and he's explosive. I mean, we know this.
And it's one thing that's crazy about Kamara, in my opinion, to think about. He only rushed 13 times, 97 yards. He did have 7 receptions for 72. What's insane for me to think about with Kamara is I look at 23.9, and I'm like, man, Kamara had a bad game. Listen.
He played really well.
23.9 is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And he didn't get a touchdown here.
Yeah, and
if he has the same stat line and throwing a touchdown, he crushes.
This is not like a Kerryon Johnson thing, right, where like he's getting vultured at the goal line. Like, this is not a thing that's going to typically happen. He got, I believe, 18 touchdowns his rookie year, or 16 touchdowns. I mean, listen, he's going to be scoring touchdowns a lot this year. If you're expecting similar efficiency, similar workload, you can do the math here. I mean, this is a guy that can push 30 to 40 DraftKings points, and he's only 8.2. I feel like this week he should have been 1,000 more expensive easily. Yes, so you get a discount here.
Absolutely. Kamara is a dead set lock.
Yeah.
And listen, he was 8,500 even
against Houston
Monday night, but against Houston, you got to play him.
Yeah, I mean, you have to.
Maybe not in every lineup, but you got to have some good exposure there. Barkley and Elliott. The only thing that I feel about Barkley is the fact that Sterling Shepard is out.
Right.
In theory, since Barkley is a passing back a lot of times, he should get more targets, more looks. I think I know Jordan likes Zeke a little more. I think I'm going with Zeke at least heavier.
Right.
Going between these two guys.
The thing with actually both of these backs last week is their usage was low. And with Zeke, we predicted it because he had missed camp and training camp, and they didn't want to rush him back. And on top of that, they blew out the Giants. Yeah. Right? So neither one of these backs got fourth quarter run. I expect Zeke to at least have to be in the game in the fourth quarter this week against Washington. 8,700. There's no reason Zeke should be under 9K ever. So you get a little bit of a discount here, and I love Zeke. And big mismatch between Dallas's offensive line and Washington's defensive line here. So I love Zeke. And Barkley would be behind Zeke and Kamara for me, but you're never done for playing Saquon Barkley at the end of the day.
Of course, not Melvin Gordon. That's the only ways up here that high. Dalvin, we both obviously this was an insane game. We called it.
And it was predictable.
Predictable. He's in a good spot here against Green Bay, in my opinion. We don't know. I mean, we don't know what this – I don't think this offense knows what it wants to be yet. And so I don't know what his – plan's going to be going forward. I want to play him. I just want to so bad. I don't know.
There's just so many other guys above him and below him, but it seems like Minnesota wants to establish a run. They only threw the ball 10 times last week.
Yeah.
So that's what I do like about Dalvin. And I know it says they're 25th against running backs, but Green Bay looks pretty good.
Yeah,
Monday Night Football, given it was against Mitch Trubisky.
I wouldn't say 25th though.
So it's not like a thing where you're exploiting a matchup here, and the price obviously comes up as it should. I think I would just rather go other places, but I'm going to have some Dalvin just in case.
Yeah. David Johnson ended up pulling it together a little bit there at the end.
I'm not touching Baltimore.
I'm not touching Baltimore either. I'm not playing an offensive player against Baltimore.
No.
They've got maybe the best defense, in my opinion, as far as just core defense, both sides. If you want to play him in the tournament, I doubt he's going to be very owned.
Yeah, he'll be unowned.
If you want to throw him in the tournament and he happens to go off, you're probably going to catch some people. Same thing with Todd Gurley here. He's such a gamble.
Yeah,
he's not a cash play. You want to throw him in the tournament, do it.
So, and you love the price at 7,000 on Todd Gurley, but last week he actually got vultured at the goal line a lot, which is not what we thought would happen. He actually got a decent amount of touches, more touches than we probably would predict. How many do you have exactly? 14 rushes. So he had 15 touches last week, right?
For 97 yards, which is
he had a nice game, right? He just didn't fall in the end zone or anything, but the no goal line work, right? That's what scares me with Todd Gurley. I got to see him be utilized in the red zone before I jump back in on Todd Gurley.
Yep, absolutely.
I don't think anybody else really.
Not interested. Eckler, I am very interested in. Obviously, he exploded again. it was pretty predictable.
Yeah.
I mean, 12 rushes, only 58 yards, but
gets a touchdown.
6 catches for 96 and 2 touchdowns.
On 7 targets.
That's exactly what we said. He's going to be the passing back.
Right.
And he's going to be the passing back again.
And I remember last week we were saying if he could get us 15 to 20 touches, right, at 5,400 or whatever he was, love it, right? And you added up 12 carries, 6 catches, 18 touches, right?
I mean, that's beautiful.
Even at 6,100, if he's getting me 18 touches a game next week, all in on Austin Eckler. And we haven't mentioned it yet, but Hunter Henry is now out for the foreseeable future, and it looks like Mike Williams is going to miss. That's something we're going to have to keep following up on throughout the week. But if they're both out, I mean, Eckler, there's no reason Eckler shouldn't be pushing 10 targets this week.
Oh, absolutely. And, he's not the best guy for just handing the ball off and running up the gut. That's not really him. They've got Justin Jackson for that. This right here, though, is phenomenal.
Yeah.
6 catches for 96 and 2 touchdowns.
And he's the goal line back also.
He is
You would be worried about a guy like Justin Jackson between the tackles maybe being the goal line back, but he's just not. It's Austin Eckler.
He's got 3 touchdowns first game. So, and they're going up against Detroit. Detroit's okay.
Okay.
I mean, but this says 22nd against running backs. That might be a little.
Yeah, it's off.
That might be a little off, but Mark Ingram.
More of a tournament guy for me this week. I'll actually love Mark Ingram. It's just Eckler looks so much better. And there's other guys that look so much better than Mark Ingram this week. But there's honestly no reason to not like him. I mean, I know it says Arizona's 4th against running backs, but as we said, we're not worried about that rank yet. We got to see it more. Mark Ingram, he played a little bit in the 3rd quarter last week, but he didn't play any of the 4th because they were just up so much. So
and still got you 25.
I believe he had 14 carries. You can double check it real quick. I think it was 14 carries. Yeah. So
14 for 107, 2 touchdowns. You can't ask for much more.
I mean, I think he could push 20 carries this week at 6,000. I love Mark Ingram in tournaments for sure.
And Arizona's going to slow speed up the pace.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to speed up the pace of the game. That could hurt Mark Ingram just because that means Lamar Jackson's coming out there and gunslinging, or it could help him. I just don't know how they want to use that in a fast-paced game.
Right.
We haven't seen that yet. I think Derrick Henry gets brought down a little bit. I think that could have been maybe
an outlier,
a really good game.
I think the tournament consideration is fine.
Consideration.
Him and Marlon Mack both in the same game right here, about the same price.
Yes.
I would say they're both about the same.
Run them back with each other. But, I mean, Derrick Henry's very capable of that all the time, but it's Tennessee.
Yeah, and you just don't know with our offense how...
You just don't know what's happening that day. He's very capable of this all the time as a player. I love Derrick Henry, but he just don't get utilized.
Yeah, I think there's other ways I would rather go, but I don't hate the play.
If Mixon doesn't play, which I'm pretty sure he's going to,
it's looking like he will. But if he doesn't, just keep up with the news. Giovanni Bernard.
Gio is obviously a play. You're getting down into
the next guy stands out. We got to talk about is Josh Jacobs, right? After the great game he had last week, he is only at 4,700. This is one I'm kind of struggling on. I'm going to have to think about it here in the next couple of days. 23 carries, but they were ahead a majority of the game. I expect him to be behind more. So I don't think he's going to get 20-plus carries again. I would project him more closer to 15, which isn't particularly bad, right, at 4,700.
No. Especially if he gets 2 touchdowns.
Right, and he is the goal line back. I think he's going to be pretty popular. I get it. But I think there's actually other backs that I personally prefer. I will have some Josh Jacobs. No, don't get me wrong. But I think there's other ways I'm going to go this week.
Another thing, too, we already talked up Derek Carr, right? If you're playing Josh Jacobs, don't put them together in my head because he's not a passing back. Like one catch. I don't think they're going to use him that way. I don't think.
Yeah, I think personally, from what I've seen, I haven't watched him a ton yet. I think he's got the skill set to be a passing back. They just didn't particularly do that. Right. So
he's somebody as time goes on.
We'll have to see.
But I'm going to have some of them because, I mean, my God, if he runs it 20 times, like this isn't great right here, right? He's getting 3.7 yards a carry. Ran it 23 times, only got 85 yards. That's not particularly great.
It's just that mix of volume and red zone, right, with the 2 touchdowns. So, he is no doubt the red zone back, and he is the main guy as far as, touches are going to go. Jalen Richard is not going to push him for touches or anything like that. So, you got to like some Josh Jacobs this week. Going down further, people are going to play Singletary, but I'm just not. I don't think I have to go there this week. If I'm going down here, the guy that you're highlighting him already, is Chris Thompson at 3,900. So Dallas looked incredible last week, right, against the Giants. Game script here, it looks like Dallas is going to be ahead of Washington. And
if Dak plays like that again.
Yeah, and with Goss being out and Adrian Peterson being very old and the head coach not seeming to like him a lot, Chris Thompson looks like he's in a great spot here. Now, obviously, you're not going to get a ton of rushing attempts with a guy like Chris Thompson, but you're looking for overall touches, particularly in the passing game. He got 10 targets last week. You know, it could come down a little. Wouldn't shock me. But if it was anything lower than 6 to 7 targets, that would surprise me.
Yeah, we talked about it might not be 10 targets again, but I think it caps out at like 8, and he's probably going to get 4 or 5, 6.
Gives him a really nice floor. He's super cheap, 3,900. If he happens to break one and fall in the end zone off of a screen or something late, he's going to just smash.
Absolutely.
At 3,900. I don't think I have to go anywhere else down here unless something. People were trying to play Birdhead and GPPs. I just don't have to do it. It's just a thing.
Now listen though, Burkhead, like in theory they should be just absolutely demolishing Miami, and they're not going to be running their main guy like James White.
Yeah,
it should be Michelle and Burkhead season. Like if they're up 20,
it's okay. Maybe a dart, but that's about it for me.
I don't know there. I don't know if I can get there. So moving to wide receiver.
This is where it's very different from last week, right? Like last week it was so hard to pay up the receiver. Like there was just no guys that were all kind of hurt, banged up, in tough matchups, whatever. It's not the case this week.
We've got them all back.
We got them all back. They're all, for the most part, in pretty decent spots. Starting out with Nuke up top at 8,100. He's going to get the Jalen Ramsey treatment. If you're not very smart, you would say, well, that scares me off of DeAndre Hopkins. Check the history. He has no problem producing against Jalen Ramsey.
You can pretty much bet your money that DeAndre, Julio, and
Odell
they're pretty much matchup. Like it don't matter who's on them. They can all burn Jalen Ramsey. Is Jalen Ramsey going to shut down almost everybody else?
Yes.
Yeah. Guys like him, Michael Thomas, Julio, they're matchup proof in my mind. Especially DeAndre. I mean, you can look up highlights of him burning Jalen Ramsey all day long.
Yeah.
So this is as far as.
Probably, I'm not going to say he's going to be unowned. I think people were going to play him. I think people know. But, we look at the other wide receivers up here. I think other people are going to go a Michael Thomas, a Keenan Allen, a Juju, right, instead of DeAndre Hopkins. So you might get some pretty good ownership on Hopkins in tournaments.
Now, I don't know if I'm going Devontae. I'm probably going to fade Devontae.
I'll fade Devontae against Minnesota.
Which might hurt me. I don't know. But we already talked about Hunter Henry and we talked about Eckler. Because Hunter Henry is going to be out, so Eckler's target should go up. That boosts Keenan Allen
a lot.
I mean, listen, he had 29.3, 10 targets, caught 8 of them for 123 and a touchdown. That's every day for Keenan Allen.
Yeah.
That's what he does. And
I know this is an outrageous projection. I would say his floor targets this week is 8. He's going to get a lot of opportunity, a lot of targets. He is very skilled, obviously, as a receiver. If Mike Williams sits, I will have some Keenan Allen. 76 might scare some people off of him or whatever. The matchup with Darius Slay might scare some people, but it doesn't scare me at all.
No, and another thing, too, to think about looking at last week, Travis Benjamin was barely involved. So I don't think they're spreading it out as much.
Right.
I think they're it's Eckler and Keenan's team almost. Yeah. And Mike Williams for a deep guy, but
if he plays.
If he's out.
I think Travis Benjamin will get 4 to 5 targets if Mike Williams doesn't play. But that would be about it. I wouldn't expect anything more than 5 targets out of Benjamin. So
I'm going to have a lot of this man right here.
So this is where the targets are going. There's no doubt about it.
I have a lot of Keenan.
Oh, we didn't mention Michael Thomas really quick. 8,000. I think he's going to be the most popular receiver on the slate. Huge point total. Talked about it a million times. Get you some Michael Thomas. I'm not super, super crazy about him. I'll probably be underweight on the field.
Yeah.
But obviously it goes without being said, kind of similar with Nuke, get some Michael Thomas, no doubt about it.
It don't matter who they're playing against or whatever. It's kind of if Drew Brees is on it.
Right.
That's all I'm with him. I'm going to fade Devontae.
I like Juju here.
I like Juju, and like I already talked about, we won't talk about him a lot, but like I talked about with Juju, Play him with Big Ben. Now, you can play Juju naked.
Right.
But, like, if you play Big Ben, you need to stack Juju. I'm going to have a Big Ben and Juju stack probably, just because we always make multiple lineups. And I feel like that's a good tournament play.
Yeah. People typically will overreact to week 1, right? And we have to realize here, like, New England is beyond the real deal, right? And then Pittsburgh got absolutely shut out. They just weren't ready to play.
Right.
I think they come back with a vengeance at home where Big Ben is much better.
Big Ben's a beast at home usually.
I think.
And, well, sorry, go ahead.
I just think this is a great spot for Juju at 7,500, man. I love it. And we talked about before the season, his target share should be just completely ridiculous. And I don't see why that changes here.
Another thing, Cincinnati just ran all over Seattle. Like, as far as like Andy Dalton and Boyd, there is no reason Big Ben and Juju should not do this.
Yeah.
I mean,
no problem at all.
You got Andy Dalton, but I'm so far out on Andy Dalton. But I'm just saying, like, if they can do that against Seattle, and here I was thinking they had a crazy D. I don't know.
I'll just quickly touch on Amari Cooper next. If you know anything about Amari Cooper and DFS, he's an up and down dude. I don't know if we have his game log from last year up here, if it's going to be this year. I don't
think you can.
So he was 1 week he was great, the next week he was bad. Good, bad, good, bad.
And last year it was like odd games or something.
So he came out week 1 and smashed. If the same thing holds true here, he's going to suck this week. So with that being said, I'm probably maybe not going to full fade him, but I'll definitely be underweight on Amari Cooper.
But as good as Dak looked though coming out, listen, him, Gallup, all these, like, I would not shock me if they all go off.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I'm not a Dak guy, but he just absolutely let his nuts hang.
Now this is the interesting thing to me is Sammy Watkins here. Like, it's in the sense of I don't know what people are going to do.
Listen, which, by the way, I just want to throw it out there. I got Sammy Watkins right.
Yeah.
Just not enough of it.
So if you live under a rock, Tyreek Hill is hurt and he's not going to play. So Sammy Watkins becomes the wide receiver 1. That's why he's priced where he's at on top of the 50-point game last week. I just don't know what people are going to do. If they're going to say he's the number 1 guy now in the offense for now, great target share, great upside in this offense, and play him a lot, or they're going to say, well, it's Sammy Watkins at 7,200. I'm not going to chase that. I don't know what people are going to do yet.
I don't think he's going to do this right here.
No,
he's not going to have 9 catches for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns.
So maybe not 50 DraftKings points for Sammy Watkins this week, but I do like him a lot, and I'm going to be here a bunch. I personally probably like, guys like Keenan Allen, Juju a little bit more if I can get there, but I do like Sammy Watkins this week.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
Next,
I'm not interested here.
Gotta see it first. And then same thing with Edelman, right? With Antonio Brown coming into play, I'm
out.
I gotta see it. Now for tournaments, I'll quickly touch on T.Y. Hilton. If you're not a Titans fan or a Colts fan, you probably don't know that T.Y. Hilton just absolutely torches my Titans religiously. Does. It doesn't matter who's throwing him the football, if it's Luck or Brissett. And after week 1, what I wasn't sure about was T.Y. going to have that connection with Brissett because they didn't have it in previous years. Now it seems that they do have it. So that's enough for me to dive back in at 6,800, a really cheap price for T.Y.
Another thing Brissett said, I believe it was actually before the season started, or it might have been T.Y., I don't know, but they were talking about wanting to make this work, like with Luck going out. I believe it was
T.Y.
I believe it was T.Y. He was saying, like, basically, it don't matter who's throwing me the football. I'm going to be the best I can be. Him and Brissett's not had the chemistry they've had in the past. They obviously have it here.
Worked on it, yeah.
They've worked on it. So I do expect T.Y. to start becoming one of those top receivers again. And like you said, at 6,800, that's always a fair price for T.Y.
I think people are going to be scared to play him here, too. I think, it's just he's just going to get overlooked. And I love his price at 6,800. I'm all over it in tournaments.
I'm not going to touch on it a lot. We already talked about I'm big on Detroit this week. So, in theory, that leaves you to play any of the receivers. Galladay, Marvin Jones, Danny Amendola. I personally kind of like Amendola as cheap as he is. We'll get to him down there. But I don't think he's going to do what he did again, like 12 targets. But you can play any Detroit receiver in my head this week, in my opinion.
And then going down here, kind of similar concept with Cooks and Robert Woods, the crazy high game total, and Cooper Kupp grouped in there too. Kind of personal preference here. I'm probably going to lean Cooper Kupp again, like I did last week. and we'll see what happens. But they're all in this great game. They're all going to be fine. Cooks is probably the one guy in tournaments that's got the most upside, but the riskiest. So do with that what you
last
want.
Week.
Yeah,
right here. See that?
At 5.9.
Moving down here again, Josh Gordon. I hate playing New England receivers more than anything,
especially with a guy like Antonio Brown just walking into this offense. Like we'll have to wait and see on New England's receivers.
Now, we talked about Dallas. If I'm playing a Dallas receiver, to be honest, I'm playing Gallup.
Yeah,
and not just because of this, but because of Amari Cooper's up and down. Gallup really impressed me a lot.
Yeah.
Of course, I know Dak was
on fire. 7 for 158. 25 points, and he was probably 43. Did not have a touchdown. He does this again. Even if he doesn't get a touchdown, he does this again. You got your value. At 5,600. So I like Gallup this week. If I find myself in this range, this is probably where I will end up.
A lot of questioning with Jacksonville, where receivers. Minsu's coming in now since Nick Foles got hurt. He threw
it to who was it? Chris Conley and
Chark
a lot last week. I don't know. I feel like I don't have to go there. My one kind of tournament play here, just moving down a little bit, to Will Fuller, right at 5,300.
Absolutely.
It came out today that AJ Bouye, the second corner for the Jacksonville Jaguars, is going to be out for this game. So automatically, your third corner has to now get up and guard Will Fuller, who's got insane explosiveness. Didn't really get to see it in week 1 against the Saints, but I thought it's a much better defense talent-wise.
Well, still looking at even what he did, 2 catches for 69.
Yeah.
He's 35, 40 yards a chunk.
So
that's what he does.
Obviously, the concern here is the volume, right? 3 targets, you don't want that. But if he can get involved a little bit more and he can break you a big touchdown, man, at 5,300, I love him in tournaments.
Another thing, too, Kiki's coming back this week, which is something me and Jordan's talked about. I never play Will Fuller if Hopkins is out, or vice versa most of the time, just because they're getting just covered more. They're getting paid more attention to. Kiki comes back, and Kiki's not bad. They're going to have to spread out their defense now, and that leaves Will Fuller.
Kenny Stills is also there, and he looked good week 1 also. So
that leaves Will Fuller a lot more susceptible to have
for blown coverages where they're worried about the other receivers. Will Fuller can sneak behind them and burn them deep. So I love Will Fuller against Jacksonville.
And we already talked about Jalen Ramsey's not leaving DeAndre Hopkins.
Right, so.
He's not going to come over on Will Fuller because if they do that, DeAndre Hopkins
is going crazy.
Yeah, you get it. But AJ Bouye's out, like he said, third corner. I don't even know who it is. He's going to be on Will Fuller, and Will Fuller can burn about anybody he wants to. So.
Love Will Fuller in tournaments.
Absolutely.
Also like John Brown.
I'm going to be on John Brown.
So quickly bring him up here. If he's going to get 10 targets a game, he's got to be high 6,000s, right? At the end of the day, he's incredible deep down the field, got a touchdown. He's still too cheap, right? The Giants got absolutely torched last week by Gallup and Amari Cooper and you name it, everybody. So I love John Brown. The price is going to come up. It might scare some people. I'm not sure. It doesn't scare me at all.
No. I'm going to have – and when I play John Brown, guess who I'm stacking them with?
Yep. Josh Allen.
We already said Sterling Shepard's out. Kind of boost some of them there. Marvin Jones down here at 4,900. Good tournament play.
People might try to chase the Hardman kid. He's going to step into the Tyreek Hill-esque role, and I'm not going to do it. Last week he got out there, and he was just non-existent. So I'm not worried about Hardman. I'll try to find somewhere else to go this week.
Honestly, I'm not going to lie. Fitzgerald, now it's against Baltimore. Going forward, though, Fitzgerald.
He looks to be involved, for sure.
Kyler Murray, he already said he wants to give Fitzgerald the ball.
Yeah.
If you're in Kyler Murray's place and you're a young kid too, why wouldn't you want to throw to one of the greatest receivers ever? You want to still keep him involved, right? He was definitely involved. Maybe a good tournament play against Baltimore, but Kyler going up against them, I don't know how he's going to perform. So I'm probably going to fade Larry.
Yeah. Scrolling down, does anything stand out to you? Nothing to me,
Sean
really.
Ross is fluky.
Is DJ Chark going to do it again? I don't know. Where is he at? So the next guy is Tyrell Williams, right? He's going to be our next core guy this week at 4,400. He is just – I don't know how after last week he's this cheap, but he is. 4,400 for Tyrell Williams. He is the number 1 receiver for Oakland, and he has got crazy upside, deep ball ability. He's got it all. Playing from behind against Kansas City, I love.
In theory.
In theory. And if they're ahead, it might be because Tyrell Williams is scoring some long touchdowns, right?
So you can't lose, right?
Yeah, so I love Tyrell Williams, 4,400. It's just like at least $1,500 too cheap. So I love Tyrell this week.
Oh, yeah. And listen, his target share can go up.
Can go up for sure, yeah.
Easily. Now, if they run 23 times again with Josh Jacobs, his target share is probably not going to go up because that's a lot of plays.
Yeah.
But we already talked about we don't think he's going to rush 23 times again. So if you bring 8 of those down to 15.
How many of those targets go to the number one receiver?
That's
right?
8 more passes. Let's say 3 more go to the number one receiver. That's 10 targets.
There you go.
At 4,400.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
The next guy I just want to quickly touch on is DK Metcalf. Some guy I was in complete wait-and-see mode after week 1. Well, I mean, I know he didn't set the world on fire, but he was on the field a lot. I believe almost the entire game, and caught 4 or 6 for 89. Like, I'm officially intrigued. I don't know if I'm going to do it a lot this week, but if you're doing a Juju Big Ben stack, it's not a bad idea to run it back with a DK Metcalf or a Tyler Lockett, whoever you want. 6 targets is encouraging, way better than what I thought for DK in week 1. So I'm at least intrigued.
Was wild because which you can see down here, it says it down here. Lockett got 2 targets.
Yeah,
which was really strange to me because I actually had quite a bit of Lockett.
Yeah, I did also.
Like they threw it to Metcalf 6 times, so he's definitely somebody to keep an eye on.
Yeah,
for sure.
Going down, anything else? I've just
don't know about AJ Brown again. I'm going to throw him in the tournament just to have him.
Yeah,
Tennessee.
Like Ted Ginn had a big week 1. Will he do it again? Who knows?
Now something me and our friend Cody had actually talked about, and here's Amendola by the way at 3,900. Throw him in the tournament.
Yeah.
Cole Beasley, I get it, non-fantasy points. Like I understand.
Which is pretty much like the typical Cole Beasley game, right?
But here's what I want to show you. He had 9 targets. He only pulled in 5 of them, but he had 9. If he gets 9 targets, 8 at 3,800, I know John Brown's going to be the guy.
Mm-hmm.
But listen, if he gets 7 or 8 non-targets at 3,800.
Yeah, you're hoping he also, I mean, I know he's going to get low A-dot throws, which is low average depth of target, just close to the line of scrimmage throws. That's what he has always been. That's what he's going to be. You'd like to see 8 yards per catch go up a little bit, and then maybe falls in the end zone or something, and then you've got a really good play in Cole Beasley. But just know what you're getting yourself into.
It's still Cole Beasley.
With Cole Beasley.
But it's a good tournament play.
Yeah. Scrolling down, I don't know if there's going to be anything else. Like Deebo Samuel right there at 3,700. He... You know, we were worried about, is Pettis the number 1 guy? Who's the number 1 receiver? It's Deebo Samuel. Like, he was on the field the most in week 1. He didn't do a ton with it, 3 for 17. If you're chasing strictly snaps, then I guess go for Deebo. I don't know.
Here's something interesting. I read this. Kyle Shanahan suggests Samuel will lose some playing time to Pettis in Sunday's game against the Bengals.
It just goes back to what I was touching on originally. Like, it's a complete... just competition still to who's going to be the number 1 receiver for this team.
I'm not trying to play either of those.
Yeah, I'm not trying to really do that either. So
that's it down here, unless you're just a big Zay Jones fan,
which you shouldn't be.
Tied in, there's not a lot to talk about.
I think it's pretty obvious up top. Like, get some Kelsey. I don't hate Kittle, but I'm probably not going to be there this week. But I think the main guy, right, is Evan Ingram, the next guy in our core. Did exactly what we thought he would do in week 1. I believe, how many targets was it? Just to double check, I believe it was 14 targets. So I don't see why this would necessarily change any, right? You know, maybe it goes down to 9 targets, right?
Sterling Shepard's out.
But Sterling Shepard is out.
It should go up.
So I'm expecting, at the worst, somewhere around 10 targets for Evan Ingram.
His 10 is his floor.
Yeah, at 5,200. Don't overthink it. Just chase the volume here, and he's actually a very skilled player. So
yeah, and don't think Buffalo. Just play him.
Play Evan Ingram until it doesn't work. I'll keep chasing double-digit targets out of my tight ends until it doesn't work. And he's only 5,200. If he was priced 7,000, right, I would say, okay, right, maybe, because that's kind of what Kelsey is at, these other guys that can push 10 targets. But Evan Ingram's still $2,000 cheaper. So there's no reason to not play Evan Ingram at 5,200.
Absolutely not. No, we went to flex. Of course, Kelsey, like he said, and yeah, he didn't have a crazy game because Sammy Watkins caught 3 touchdowns. But again, Tyreek out, that obviously boosts Kelsey a lot.
If you can find the salary to get there, you can.
I don't know about Oakland being 3rd against Stoddy.
Yeah, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that.
I'm not playing Vance McDonald Don't care. If you want to ride this wave, ride it.
Ride it. I'm not
Lamar
sure.
with them.
I'm just not sure. Okay, I don't know if that was an anomaly. We'll see. If he comes back this week and he puts up another 28 DraftKings points, I'll be a believer at that point.
But still, at 3,800, if he does do that again, and you put Lamar with him, he can't go off without Lamar at least doing well.
Yeah.
So play Lamar with him.
Nothing else really stands out for tight end. Delaney Walker, playable, but I don't expect 2 touchdowns again. But the price is right.
Now, right here is somebody we both was originally going to, well, not originally, but we talked about putting in our core, but we have
Tyrell Williams.
We have, Tyrell in there. Waller, Oakland's tight end.
Same thing we've talked about with every other Oakland guy so far. Playing from behind, you're expecting more passing attempts. In a game where they led a lot, he had 8 targets. So it wouldn't shock me if he had 8 targets again, pushing 10 targets, and he's very skilled. He's very good. 3,300 is way too cheap for Darren Waller.
If he gets 8 targets again and falls in the end zone,
yeah.
I mean.
And then in a similar vein, we go down to 3,000, is T.J. Hawkinson last week had an incredible game. 6 catches on 9 targets for 131 yards and a touchdown. He, as far as skill set goes, man, he is incredible. He's really good.
Yeah.
He's eventually, at the worst, going to be like a 4,000, 5,000 dude. He's just way too cheap right now. I don't know if the targets are going to be there again. We'll have to kind of wait and see. But in theory, right, like we're kind of thinking Chargers are a better team. They kind of should be ahead. I don't see the targets going down a lot, maybe a little bit. I love T.J. Hawkinson at 3,000.
And already hopped up Stafford. I mean,
there you go.
If you don't want to put him with a wide receiver.
Talking about a cheap stack, right? Like Stafford with Hawkinson, and you can go crazy with the rest of your lineup.
Believe me, I'll have it.
Outside of that, I don't think there's any reason to dumpster dive down here.
You want to dumpster dive and get
Virgil Green's going to start. Where's Virgil Green at down here?
He was actually up a little.
No, he's not either. No, he is not. Where's he at?
Virgil Green.
Right there.
Okay, yeah.
2,700. He's going to start. Don't expect Virgil Green to get a lot of targets. To just step into Hunter Henry's role. It's not what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Mainly a blocker. He might get like a little sneaky touchdown or something, but if you just have 2,700 left or something, you need a tight end, I guess this would be your guy.
I'd move down somewhere else, but
I'd figure something else out for sure.
We already know about flex. Defense, there's not a lot to cover. We'll briefly hit it.
Up top, of course, the Bears are always going to be in play, and they get Denver and Joe Flacco, right? So fire up the Bears. Ravens always, but our favorite defense, right, it's got to be the Patriots defense, 3,700 against Miami.
Against Miami, who every player wants to be traded except Ryan Fitzpatrick because he is just a diehard
for his team, no matter what.
It don't matter who it is. He's played for 8 of them.
Yeah,
he's the only quarterback to throw a touchdown for 8 teams and an interception.
So just quickly, the spread is like 19 points. You already mentioned it once. Play the Patriots defense. Don't overthink it.
And down here, cheap. We already talked about Cowboys is fine against Washington. Nothing else really.
Texans at 2,800 against Gardner Minshew. Good pass rush from Houston. A shaky O-line from Jacksonville. I like that. And then I like, if you think Mitch Trubisky is as bad as I think he is, you can definitely play the Broncos defense at 2,700 and feel pretty good about that too. So.
Yep.
Outside of that, I'm not sure. I mean, probably won't be anywhere else.
Using this core here, you've got 5,300, and there's so many budget guys, especially tight end.
Quarterback, we talked about a lot of cheap guys.
You can run down. So this gives you, even if it was just 5,300, that still gives you a lot of room.
And this is without plugging in defense. So just plug in, for example, we like the Texans defense down there at 2,800. It would bump your average up to almost nearly 6,000.
And this is with Kamara in there at 82. So that's pretty much the week 2 breakdown. We had a pretty good first week. Nothing like absolutely insane.
Yeah. Pricing's still soft this week, you can tell. It's not as soft as week 1. Actually, I feel like I have a really good feel in this slate, which means I absolutely wipe out and lose all my buy-in.
Crash and burn, baby.
Crash and burn. So we'll see how that goes. But
yeah, absolutely. Thank you for watching again. Like, comment, subscribe. And if you enjoy it, comment. Of course, tell us what we need to do different if you didn't like it. And we'll see you next week for the week 3 slate. And hope you win big.